taking notes from nobody.
Your superstars have off games.
Follow us on social media at Celtics Talk Weekly.
Welcome into Celtics Postgame Live, everybody. I'm Justin. That's Franco. The Boston Celtics lose their first Summer League game today, 99-88 against fellow Eastern Conference champion, I guess defending Eastern Conference champion, Miami Heat. Franco, how you doing? How you feeling? This was a good game, but how you doing today?
It was a great game to watch, but unfortunately we lost Game 8, but they're not ready for Game 9.
No, they're not at all. I don't know how soon Game 9 will be, but in all seriousness, even though we lost, this was a highly entertaining game from start to finish, Franco.
Oh my goodness, right off the bat we got to see Jordan Walsh, our second-round pick, absolutely lighting it up from three-point, which was his main concern coming into being drafted. Everyone knew how much of a hustle player he was, how much of an athlete he was, how much of a good defender he was. But shooting 4 for 6 from three-pointer is absolutely amazing for him, and it's a great sign for what's coming up for him next.
I'm very glad that you started off with Jordan Walsh because Walsh was the 38th pick in the NBA draft, as you mentioned. We mentioned yesterday in the Summer League preview that this was a guy Brad Stevens was very high on. He actually had Jordan Walsh on his list at pick 25. Now, scouts say that Walsh could have easily been a first round, maybe even lottery pick if he had stayed in Arkansas for more than just his freshman year. Instead, he declared for the draft, and now obviously he scores 18 points in his Celtic NBA Summer League debut. I think what stood out to me, Franco, was not that he made 4 3-pointers, and it was that he shot 6, and he shot all 6 with confidence. Now, when you're shooting 27% as a freshman and you go into the NBA draft and that's your weakness, you kind of figure the shot's not really there. He still has to learn. And I'm not saying he doesn't have to learn, but just to see him come in and shoot with that confidence from the very start, that is super, super, super encouraging. I believe he hit his first 4. He didn't miss his first shot until his first 3-point shot, until late in the fourth quarter. But to come in first quarter, go 3 for 3 from deep. And then also there was this little top of the key. I believe this was in the second quarter. Little top of the key action, did a little in and out crossover move and pulled up in the mid-range.
Mid-range, yeah, from top of the key, type of Jaylen Brown type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that, to me, is what's really exciting, to see him shoot that with confidence. That's what you need from him. I get it. This is only one game. We're not going to sit here and overreact. But at the same time, this was a tremendous game for not only the few other Celtic players that we'll get to, but especially for Jordan Walsh, Franco.
Yeah, Jordan Walsh and J.D. Davison, our draft pick from last year, also had a fantastic game. He was put into a more significant role for us. He was the starting point guard and played 30 minutes alongside Champagnie and Walsh. So they had the court most of the game. And what J.D. Davison did was showed that he can be that facilitator. Yes, there were a couple of hiccups in the beginning of the game, but 11 assists alongside 14 points. And when those 14 points came in, they were all big points and they were all smart shots. And he was trying to make the right plays out there. He was playing smart defense and he was hustling the entire game. And that's exactly what we need to see for the competition that we have going on with the loss of Smart between him and Pritchard. So him and Pritchard are going hand in hand for minutes. So anything that he can do right now is huge.
Again, this is kind of the veteran of the team, the more experience of the team. He's just a sophomore now going into his second season in the NBA. He was drafted in the second round last year by the Celtics. Didn't see much playing time for Boston. He spent a lot of time in Maine. We mentioned last night during our little kind of summer league preview show. Look, everything that I saw from J.D. Davison tonight, I texted you this during the game, was there wasn't a time where I felt J.D. Davison wasn't trying at least to make the right move. You're not going to find a perfect game.
Definitely.
These aren't perfect players. That's why these guys are here. These guys are here to work on their strengths and weaknesses, 5 turnovers tonight from J.D. Davison. You like to get that number down, but at least for the first game, again, he made 11 assists. 11 of those assists, by the way, he didn't have any in the fourth, so he did that all throughout 3 quarters. Then 10 of his 14 came in the fourth, and as you mentioned, seemed like all of the 14 points came at big moments during this game down the stretch. Also, using that body, getting those steals, using his size. He's a pesky defender. He'll pick you up half court. He'll pick you up full court, just like Peyton Pritchard would. And as you mentioned, the guard rotation right now is very solid for the Boston Celtics, but it's also up in the air. You don't know Marcus Smart's gone. You don't know what's going to happen with Malcolm Brogdon. You honestly don't even know what's going to happen with Peyton Pritchard. So J.D. Davison has a solid chance to not only regain a two-way spot, but maybe even a standard roster spot on the team next year. So first game jitters out of the way, 5 turnovers. Yeah, you can look at it that way, but I look at it as a double-double, and he played one phenomenal game.
Definitely. He played a phenomenal game alongside everyone else, basically. Justin Bean, who we talked about in the preview, played a phenomenal game as well. 13 points, 7 rebounds. He was all over the court, and he was making hustle plays. And he had an athletic finish, I remember, that was a putback that really caught me off surprise. But he's really going to put in a really big effort to put in that argument for that small forward position, which really puts into question what the plan is going further when they have so much depth at wing, but the talent at that depth is very questionable. So it's really who's going to step up there come regular season, and that's going to be decided during the preseason and now.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at Justin Bean, I mentioned it again yesterday in the preview, this guy's kind of like a jacked up Matt Ryan or a jacked up Sam Hauser. And when I say jacked up, I mean they have similarities, but I feel like Justin Bean is just better all around. Maybe not the better player, but better all around. I think Bean can give you. He's extremely athletic. He can shoot. He can rebound. I saw a few monster rebounds tonight from Justin Bean. He could pass the ball. You can see he got a steal. He was diving all over the floor, as you mentioned earlier in the show. Like, this guy's just going to give it to you. He's just going to give it. He's just going to give it to you on both ends. He's just a wicked high productive player. You're not going to see any high numbers from him, but you're going to see, just like you do tonight, very well balanced numbers: 13, 7, 3, and 1. Like, you're going to get at least something from him. And if he's not making his shots, he's going to give you rebounding. If he's not rebounding, he's going to give you assists. If he's not giving you assists, he's going to give it to you on the defensive end. That's just the type of player you're getting from Justin Bean. I watched him in Memphis. I even saw him in his earlier days ball out with, I believe it was the Los Angeles Clippers in the summer league in early parts of their season. So, like, Justin Bean's just one of those players. He's just going to give it to you. He's going to give you the effort. And that kind of fits the Celtics, I guess, repertoire very well, right? Like a guy that's just going to come in, he's not going to care about the numbers, but he's going to go out there and produce those numbers on a consistent basis. So I'm very interested to see. We mentioned the Davisons with the Walshes and the Champagnes. Like, Justin Bean's a name that very much could find his way onto maybe even one of those two-way deals that we have open.
Yeah, we have two-way deals open, and we also have Justin Champagnes, who's also on the Summer League roster. He had a decent performance today, had a couple of flashes, but he's one of those people who is considered by Celtics fan bases and media, just because he was on the roster last year, as one of the front runners to get one of those spots. We look at a guy like Jay SCRUBB, who came off the bench, had a monster performance. He showed that, like we said yesterday, he's a scoring machine, and he showed that last year. And he really came out and gave us those tough points and was able to complement Jordan Walsh very well on the court while they were together. I remember, I think it was in the first half, they were on the court together and amounted up to 31 points before the first half ended, which is absolutely huge and something that you need to see from these guys. And SCRUBB is probably going to either make a push to be on this roster, or we're going to be hearing about him when we're playing against him during the regular season.
Yeah, again, SCRUBB, he comes from the Orlando Magic, 6'7", 220. He's a very lengthy fella. 22 points he averaged, 22 and 6 with the Lakeland Magic last season. He also played with the Los Angeles Clippers in the Orlando Magic as well. This guy's been in the league, still a young player with a lot to prove. But at the same time, again, with those two-way contracts open, you also have some roster spots open. Like, this is going to be a summer league to really pay attention to. These players are going to have a real shot at making the roster at some point, way or another. 17 points. Look, I'll tell you right now, with SCRUBB, first of all, his shot selection, I feel like it's very, very balanced. I feel like it's very non-forceful. He wasn't forcing shots. He wasn't up there just chucking them up. 1 for 3 from distance, 6 of 11 from the field. What I love about SCRUBB is how freakishly athletic he is and how he could just get to the basket. He uses that 6'7", 220 body to such advantage. And there was a 9-0 run. It actually was a 12-0 Celtics run, but a 9-0 SCRUBB run in that second quarter where he just came off the bench and he just absolutely lit this Miami team up in the first half. Would have loved to see him down the stretch a little bit more for sure, but you can't really nitpick those, substitution methods,
especially
in a summer league.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, like we mentioned yesterday, it's also these coaches' opportunities to learn and strategize and kind of be in that head coach position for a couple of weeks. It was Tony Dobbins, by the way. I hate to go off topic, but Tony Dobbins was the head coach. We kind of discussed that a little bit at the end of the preview, kind of wondering which Celtic coach was going to be there. It wasn't Cassell, it wasn't Lee, it wasn't Pressey. It was Tony Dobbins, who's been with the team for the past few seasons.
And something that made me really happy was the amount of, or also goes alongside our point, how important this summer league season is. Did you see how many Celtics players were in attendance tonight? You had Jason Tatum. Tatum brought Deuce along with him. You had Peyton Pritchard there. O'Shea Brissett was there. A lot of players were scoping out the talent in their future teammates that they're going to be playing with next year.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's really important. I love when I just, even in the league, I just love when players show players love, because like we mentioned, like, this is their tryout. This is their moment to shine, right? Like, they don't have this type of advantage in the regular season. That's why I think Summer League is so fun, because we get to see guys who don't really get their opportunities in the regular season and playoffs. This is their opportunity. This is their opportunity to show that they're there. And this is their chance to convince other players and other coaches that they can be in the rotation come regular season time. So SCRUBB, amazing game off the bench, 17 points, 2 steals, a block, 6 of 11 from the floor. Very efficient night from SCRUBB. Look, when you look at this Miami Heat team, and we talked about last night how difficult it is really to kind of dissect this Heat team, because they lost a lot already in free agency, and then you figure you're going to lose some pieces if this Damian Lillard trade does fall through eventually. But they have some very good pieces tonight. We saw Nikola Jovic, who left the fourth via a foot injury, I believe, a little foot soreness, nothing serious, just be cautious. And then Orlando Robinson, unbelievable, one of the best summer league performances I've seen. 36 points on 11 rebounds. What did you like from the Miami Heat tonight?
I liked it. Well, that's the thing that everyone likes to talk about, is how they have that hidden talent. Orlando Robinson was one of those players that was at the end of their bench last year. We saw him during the NBA playoffs whenever the game came down to the final 5 minutes and the Celtics or the Heat threw in the white flag, he would come on the court. But what he did tonight was absolutely monstrous, and really is a big sign for Miami and is a nod to their development team and their recruitment. They know which players they want, and they know they can develop into what they need for their future when they lose these players due to salary. It really shows, and he's one of these players that's going to go in, and we're going to be seeing a lot of him when we're playing against Miami next year.
Would you say with the Miami Heat, would you say this is also an important summer league for them as well in terms of, again, you lost a lot come free agency. A lot went out and not much came in.
And they're not even done losing yet.
Right. I mean, do you think that this is a pretty big summer league for them in terms of kind of finding those hidden gems?
Yeah, and it's almost like their showcase for some of these players that might be thrown in the package that everyone knows is inevitable, but they don't know what it's going to be for with Damian Lillard. You look at players like Jovic, obviously him going down with an ankle injury might not be the best sign for the trade, but he's one of those players that will be one of those 3 or 5 players getting shipped to Portland for Dame if that is how they decide to do it. And it's also huge because of this is what their bench is next year. I would say you'll be seeing, I'm looking at their roster, you'll probably be seeing 3 to 4 of these players on their roster playing significant minutes when it comes to the season. Compared to us, these players that we're looking at are more developmental. These are their now players who's going to be behind the starting 5 that we are putting our entire bank in for.
I mean, I thought you were going to list the players. If I'm going to be honest, that's why I kind of didn't say anything. But Franco, I want to mention that the fact that, do you think it's kind of an eyebrow raise when you see a guy like, say you're Brad Stevens, right, and you're sitting there, and you see Jordan Walsh go off for 18 points, shooting 4 of 6 from deep, coming off of a 27% shooting in his freshman year. You think Brad kind of was smirking in the stands tonight when he was seeing Jordan Walsh and how he was playing? I mean, plenty of teams past Jordan Walsh, arguably, honestly, could have picked him at 25 if they really wanted to, because Brad said he was on his list.
Yeah,
and I think this is kind of, I know it's only one game, like I don't want to overreact, but at the same time, Franco, he was balling tonight. Like, that's huge, ultra confidence from the Rook.
Well, we aren't a team that we don't get to watch that many draft busts come through Boston. If they don't work out here, they end up working out elsewhere. But the Celtics are very, very good at picking and choosing who they know is going to be a talented player in the NBA. Jordan Walsh is one of those players. And the fact that if we draft, or the Celtics drafted Jordan Walsh at 25, you and I would not be complaining right now, especially after that performance, and we would both be sitting here saying that that was a great first-round pick, and we're going to be seeing a lot of him come regular season. But the fact that he's a second-rounder, that's flexibility right there. That will basically give us an extra spot to get that Sadiq Bey or Jashawn Tate to develop this team into a championship and be able to back it up alongside that.
Talk to me about tomorrow night. Boston is back in action. A chance to redeem themselves against the Washington Wizards. 7:30 tip-off on NBC Sports Boston, or catch it nationally on NBA TV. Look, they got a couple of solid players as well that we're about to see. I'm going to list a couple: Xavier Cooks, Tristan Vukovic, and Balil.
Koulibaly, I believe.
Yes, very solid pick in the draft this year for the Washington Wizards.
I believe he was 8th, I believe.
He lottery pick.
8th or 9th. And he was one of those players that is drafted for the need, not for the talent by the Washington Wizards. So it's very exciting to see how he pans out for them. And he's going to be playing a key role for them alongside Xavier Woods, because this is one of those teams that broke the bank to get into a rebuild mode. This is a team that is watching the Summer League a lot more attentively as fans than we are as Celtics fans, because as Celtics fans, we know what we have going into next year. A team like Washington, they have no clue who, for all they know, they're looking at their starting lineup next season, other than Jordan Walsh and whoever else they decide to add.
Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole. Jeez. So many Jordans. But yeah, but we're going to be seeing a lot more talent as well. We're going to see Reggie Kissenall. We're going to see Delano Banton, who we didn't get to see tonight for the Celtics.
Right.
What was the other name? Kamar Baldwin, we didn't get to see. And another player I'm hot on is Vincent Valerio Bodon. So I think we're going to be seeing them step in, and maybe a few players that played a lot more tonight sitting out.
To JD, actually.
Yeah, so we're going to see those players, which is going to be very exciting. And I think we're going to see a lot more chemistry, because they just figured each other out. When was the roster announced? So they must have been practicing they probably had a week or two prior of practices together. That was their first run-through game together as a collective. I think we're going to see those alley-oops, those plays start to come together. The defensive IQ and the defensive chemistry, who's got who. And I think tomorrow will be a big statement if they're going to be making a championship run in the Summer League for the tournament.
Yeah, I think when you look at this team, and I think they found themselves, I would say, in that third quarter. You had spurts in the second quarter. There were a few times where the Celtics had a 10 or 11-point lead, but in the end, I think they went cold at the worst time. Like, they started missing shots. They started letting that affect them. Orlando Robinson just down the stretch just absolutely torched the Celtics.
I closed my eyes and had PTSD. Hearing and the red hot Miami Heat.
I know. And that's the thing. It's like, oh, what are you talking about at Summer League? It's just like, we've heard about the Miami Heat for the past month. That's the only team we've played since, I can't tell you when. When's the last time? When was Game 7 against the Sixers? Like, for 2 months, we've only played the Miami Heat. We're the Washington
air.
I know. It's just ridiculous. The Wizards is going to be the first team other than the Miami Heat we played since Game 7 against Philadelphia. So, I think, when you look at this team and I think you look at these players, I'm going to look to see how, not necessarily how they respond from a loss, because it's Summer League. It's all about development. These guys want to win. I'm not saying they don't want to win, but at the same time, like, I'm going to look for a little bit of consistency. Let's see if Jordan Walsh can not really shoot perfect from the field again, but let's see how he does tomorrow night. Especially, it's going to be cool to see how these guys handle their cardiovascular, because it's going to be a second night of a back-to-back. A lot of players, they get winded. Let's see how these guys handle the second night of a back-to-back. That'd be very, very interesting to see. Is there anything else? Before we kind of wrap up, is there anything else? Because, we're going to be right back on here tomorrow night, hopefully talking about a Celtics win. But at the same time, we're going to be back here in 24 hours.
Yeah, I think they had a lot of positives to take away from tonight. Even though they walked away with a loss, they got to see their development come into fruition. They got to see the J.D. Davison. They got to see Jordan Walsh, the 2 key players that everyone has their eye out for. They are making their statements known that they are looking to make impacts in the upcoming years for this team. And right now, there is probably a 4-way battle for those 2 other positions that are open for this roster. So things are only going to get better from here. And I think we're going to be seeing a much more dominant game tomorrow night from this team.
I also want to. I gotta look at this name. I gotta have it in front of me because I really don't want to mess it up. Like I don't want to butcher it totally, even though I'm going to. Udoka Azubuike. Did I butcher it?
Yep. No, that's as close as I would get.
I want to see how he plays tomorrow night. Only 17 minutes off the bench tonight. We kind of had high hopes for him. He played in Utah. Definitely, I think can't be one of the best players on this summer league team. 6 points, 6 rebounds, an assist, a block, 3 of 4 from the field. You might be saying, "Oh, that's not such a bad night." He had kind of a slow start. He wasn't as aggressive in the first half as he was in the second half. As the game went on, he and a lot more other players got more comfortable. But I really like what I saw from Udoka in the second half, Franco.
Definitely, Udoka definitely had a better second half. I watched him in the first half. It was very iffy. A few drop passes in the paint, a few easy layups allowed. Obviously, Orlando Robinson having 36 points, mostly in the paint. That was mostly credit to the zone that they were implementing when they should have been running a man.
Correct.
And that's something.
Fire Tony. No, don't.
Yeah, that was one of those coaching adjustments that will just come with time, and that got figured out. Whichever one of these big men put together that big night defensively, whoever has that 3-block, 8-rebound night, they are looking basically at a golden lock at that two-way contract because the depth need at that center position is huge. So it's between Oleg, Reggie, and Udoka for that big man position.
So here's my thing with Oleg, and he's 7'1", overseas player. He can shoot the ball very well. Had an off night shooting over too. But my thing is I think you want shooting. You think of it. So put yourself. Let's flash forward to October, right? These guys were in training camp, and preseason is a lot more important than summer league in terms of you make that training camp roster, you're very much likely nearly almost on the actual roster. So it comes down to Oleg and it comes down to Udoka. I feel like with Udoka, you get a lot more post dominant. I think you get a more of
Definitely.
that kind of barbecue chicken shack type stuff where you get the old school centers in the post dominating down low. And then you go to Oleg and you kind of get that stretch big type feel where you know
matching Kristaps.
Correct. Matching Kristaps and who else? Al Horford, who can both stretch the floor. And then even throw in O'Shea Brissett if you want to go small. Throw in Blake Griffin if you really want to add to that and we re-sign Blake. So, like, you want to start, like I think the Celtics have options here for that two-way. If they want to award a two-way spot to a big man, I think they have a few different ways they can go in terms of just strategy-wise.
Definitely. I'm a big fan of the big man. And I remember there were series that I was watching from a very close perspective on the court. There were times that just those bench big men, like Cornette, they were just getting beat out on those big boards against those players that are 250 pounds. And like Robert Williams, unfortunately, great athleticism, but he's still undersized and will get beat out unintentionally. So one of the players I was looking at, like Udoka is a cheaper option, but like a player like Andre Drummond is a player that I'm looking for the Celtics to add in depth, but Udoka would be the cheapest option, and I'm sure they would love to stay the home court route instead of going via trade or free agency.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of different ways the Boston Celtics can go. There's a lot of different ways the Celtics can go tomorrow night when we're in this exact same position. I'm very excited to see Delano Banton. I'm very excited to see him. He's actually going to be on the Celtics roster next year. We signed him to a 2-year deal. So it'll be very interesting to see how he comes. He did not play tonight. He had a finger injury that was kind of lingering, nothing serious, just something to keep cautious on. You figure maybe play him tomorrow night and give JD the chance to rest. Who knows what the Celtics are going to do? But at the same time,
I would love to see all 13 ready to rock and roll. And
I would too. And I think when people sit here and they hear me, I think when people hear me say that and they're going to be like, why wouldn't they play at Summer League? These guys never get the chance. You kind of know what you're going to get with JD Davis, and you kind of have the idea of what you're going to get. But you know what I mean? So, you give other guys shots. But at the same time, I hope the Celtics go in tomorrow, all 13 ready to go, because I want to see a win. I don't care if it's Summer League. I want to see a win, baby.
All 13 ready to go. At max, give them 25. At most, give like Walsh or Davison 25 minutes at tops, and then just divert it between all 13 players and figure out which mixes and matches work for those final 3 or 4 that game 3 and 4 of Summer League. You have a good idea of what lineups work. You can figure that all out tomorrow. So hopefully they run healthy.
Right. Hopefully they run healthy. The Boston Celtics, as we mentioned, they're back in action tomorrow night. Not so much 24 hours from now, but 7:30 tip-off tomorrow night on NBA TV. You can catch it locally on NBC Sports Boston. For now, I'm Justin. That's Franco. We will see you tomorrow night for